It's time for PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin. Dr. Bob guides you through the latest veterinary techniques and procedures to keep your pets in the best of health. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortis. With your ears up and tails wagging, here is Dr. Bob.
Thanks for tuning in to PetSylvania. This is Dr. Bob from SylvaniaVET, your 24/7 pet care destination. Thanks to Elanco, makers of Trifexis and Comfortis, for sponsoring our show. Marlene wants to know, now that Sentinel is not available, what should I give my dog for heartworm and fleas? Well, Marlene, that opens up a real long discussion, so we'll try to make it fairly basic here. Sentinel is a combination pill that is the product called Interceptor, which is a once-a-month heartworm preventive. It's an excellent product. Trouble is Interceptor, the manufacturer of Interceptor it no longer can supply that ingredient because the plant in which Sentinel and Interceptor were made has been shut down by the FDA, and we don't know when that's coming back. So Sentinel if it's out there, it's in very short supply, and nobody can get it. So anybody that's selling it just had a large supply, and they're finishing up the selling. The other part of Sentinel is Program, and Program really does nothing against adult fleas, and it's a flea birth control pill, and basically it's an environmental treatment. So if your dog gets fleas and it bites the dog and it takes in the program, then the eggs that the flea lay become sterile, and so your environment, whether it be in the house or out in the yard, don't get further contaminated. But it doesn't do anything against adult fleas. I think most of us would like something that we're giving our pets to work against adult fleas. We're not so much into flea birth control. So how do you attack that? Well, Trifexis fits that need very nicely, as do other products. But Trifexis, made by a different company than the company that makes Interceptor, has the Interceptor product, and has then Comfortis, which is a once-a-month flea component, spinosad, in the pill. So you give it once a month. You've protected your dog against heartworm, internal parasites, and against fleas. Also, Frontline Plus, of course, and Advantage are effective against fleas. Those are topical applicators. And Revolution, which is a product from Pfizer, is also affected, and it is the product of choice in cats because it protects against fleas, it protects against some internal parasites, it protects a little bit against ticks, and it protects against heartworm in cats. So we think it's the product of choice for cats, but we don't think it's quite as effective in dogs, and so it's not our product of choice. So Revolution for cats, for heartworm, and even if your cat is an indoor only cat, it should be protected against feline heartworm disease. Feline heartworm disease is very serious in cats because there are very few clinical signs other than sudden death, and there's no treatment. So prevention becomes the real key. So Marlene, what I would say is your choices other than Sentinel are Trifexis, HeartGuard Plus for heartworm only, Frontline Plus for adult fleas and ticks, and then the plus part of Frontline also is a insect growth regulator, which is that flea birth control. So you get that. So you've got options out there now that Sentinel is. Sentinel is a product that I never recommended because I just didn't think it was necessary to use a flea birth control pill when you weren't attacking the adult flea, and you're just overpaying for that. We're constantly on the lookout at SylvaniaVET for products that are healthful and pets enjoy, and we use them a lot in our boarding facility as treats. And one of the newest ones that we have found that we think is just fantastic is an all-natural product called Yogund, and that's a Yoghund, and it is a frozen yogurt product that comes in comes in 4 different flavors, and there's a peanut butter and banana flavor, there's a blueberry and vanilla bean flavor, and a couple other flavors that escape me right now. But in addition to that, there's 5 billion good probiotic bacteria in this frozen yogurt treat, so it's really healthful. So we use it as treats for the animals that are boarding with us. We use it as treats at home, and then we also prescribe it oftentimes in a dog or even a cat that is having a battle with diarrhea, and it's been on medications. Perhaps it's been on antibiotics for an extended period of time for a skin infection, and so they need some probiotic to help them recover their normal flora in their intestines. And we find the Yogin to be very excellent. One container, about 1.5 ounces or so, and it's low in fat, very palatable, kind of strange flavors, but these were tested by the company that made them and found to be desirable for dogs. I probably wouldn't have expected that dogs would like blueberry and vanilla bean, but that seems to go over pretty good. We have a freezer at the office with Yogin packets of 4 in there, and we also right now have some coupons from the company. So if you stop in at SylvaniaVET, 4801 Holland, Sylvania, right at the corner of Haroon and Holland, Sylvania, down the street from Flower Hospital, then you could get the coupon and get some money off on your purchase. So that's a win-win all the way around, and I think your pets would really love it. One of the things that we were talking about today earlier was the concerns of the drought and what the drought's going to do to prices of almost everything that we buy, from a box of cornflakes to Wheaties to certainly to many of the things that we use in our daily life, including soda that's sweetened with corn syrup. All these prices are expected to go up because of the drought that we're experiencing this year, which then kind of opened up the idea of talking about corn as an ingredient in pet foods. There's a lot of misinformation in the public venue, mostly coming from advertising, and there's probably the biggest oxymoron out there is a phrase called truth in advertising. It really hardly exists, and so many of the ads that you see make it sound like grains, and corn particularly, are bad for a dog. The reality is that that's not at all true. Corn is an excellent nutrient. If there's some concern in your mind about chemicals that are used on corn can be purchased, and foods can be purchased that are made with organic corn. I personally don't have any hang up about the way the product is grown, but if that's a concern of yours, you just have to look a little harder, and you're going to pay more because they charge more for organic foods. There's no question about it. That's why Whole Foods is a really successful food chain, because they're charging a premium for the foods that they're selling the people that want organically raised food. But the reality about corn in pet food is it's not a filler, and that's one of the things that they talk about. Oh, it's corn, it must have a filler in it. Corn's actually an active nutrient, and it's loaded with omega-3 fatty acids. It's loaded with great carbohydrates. It has a very usable, high-quality protein in it. It's an excellent energy source. In large animal, in the feed animal area, when they talk about corn, whether it be for a chicken or it be for a cow, or feeding corn to horses, it's considered a hot food. And what that means is that it contains a lot of calories per ounce or pound, or however you want to measure it. It's more calorie dense, and that's because of the oils that are in there. We use corn oil to cook with, and so it's which is really an excellent oil, because it's very low in polyunsaturates, and it also has the omega-3 components, and the emphasis on omega-3s can't be overstated. They are just tremendously beneficial to joints, to skin, to brain function, across the board. We all probably ought to be taking fish oil capsules, but I think then we'd all start smelling like a can of sardines, and I think most of us don't want to do that. But I think that's a pretty darn good idea. So when you hear advertising where they make light of grains and foods, what I would tell you is that ought to be an alert to you to pay attention and say, are they really being forthright and honest with us, with the public, when they make that statement? There's no great advantage over feeding just fruits and vegetables versus feeding the grains. And the final statement there is that I would tell you is that corn is very rarely does it induce allergies, food allergies in dogs, where some of the other grains do, wheat being the most common grain that triggers allergic reactions. Well, it's about time to take a break, and we'll be back on the other side. I'm back, and we left off before the break talking about corn and the fact that it's not a filler and the fact that it rarely triggers allergies. And so it's a good idea, I think, for us to talk a little bit about food allergy and in pets. And the interesting thing about food allergies is that they get a lot of blame, and I think we've mentioned this on a previous show, so I won't go into a lot of details. But hopefully we have some new listeners out there, and if you are listening, get your friends to listen. It would be great to increase our audience. Food allergies may generally make up about 1 in 10 of the allergies that we see in dogs. We tend to lean a lot more strongly to allergies being food related in dogs that are allergic year round, that there doesn't seem to be much seasonal variation to their allergy. Also, where the primary signs of allergies are associated with ears and in the rear end, so biting, chewing at the tailhead or scooting on their bottom, and chronically recurrent ear problems. Those frequently have a basis in food allergies. But then the rest of the itching that we see, the licking on the paws, which is by far the most common sign, and the scratching armpits and chewing down in the groin and biting the belly and all those types of things, those are generally considered environmental allergies, and dogs can be allergic to the same things that people are. So house dust mites, ragweed, alternaria, all those things can trigger allergies in a dog. And so that's later in this segment, I'm going to talk a little bit about our case that's going to involve some dogs with allergies, and I think you'll find it pretty interesting how we approach this particular case. One of the really cool things about SylvaniaVET is that we're constantly trying to innovate and enhance the services that we provide. And one of the things that we've recently received is a designation as a cat-friendly practice. And there was a long series of questions that needed to be answered about how we deliver cat care services to our patients in order for us to achieve the cat-friendly practice designation. A lot of it had to do with the way animals are handled. We try very hard not to drag a cat out of its cage. We try very hard to not have to scruff the cat. That's considered a negative approach. It's considered an approach that will frighten the cat and make the next visit more stressful rather than less. We use pheromones called feel-away in our exam rooms at SylvaniaVET, because that has a calming effect in an animal who is already a bit stressed. We go ahead and we actually spray some pheromone directly in the air onto the table on our hands. We want to take the carrier apart when we take the animal out, so rather than dump them or drag them, if they don't come out willingly, then we just take the carrier apart. And incidentally, the cat-friendly practice designation puts a tremendous emphasis on wanting you to have your cat in a carrier when you transport, not free in the car, not wrapped in a towel, not encased in a pillowcase, but in a carrier that you can literally buckle in, so that if you have to make a panic stop, the carrier's not going to go flying forward, nor is your cat going to go flying forward. There have been situations over the years when a cat that's been allowed to be free in the car has gotten in underneath the brake pedal. That's kind of serious. And getting up in underneath the dashboard and then try to get, or up underneath the seat and get it all in the springs of the seat has proved to be quite a chore trying to get it out. And cats jumping out of an owner's arms as they walk from the parking lot to the office is a constant worry. So please get a good solid carrier. There's a variety of them at all the pet stores, and this will make your travel with your cat a lot better. Put a towel in there. If your cat is stressful when it gets, when you get the carrier out and you get to transport it, take it out a week early. Put some treats in there. Buy a feel away spray. Spray the towel in the carrier. Can you imagine how bad that would be if you're sitting on a polyethylene plastic container without a towel and you're stressed, and then you pee or you poo, which cats will do, and the next thing you know, they're sitting in that. And we know cats are fastidious. We see how much they groom. It's just a really good idea to make the trip as easy as you can. Get it there a little early so that the kitty can get into an exam room and there can be some adjustment and some accommodation, and it'll get settled in so that it's not a wham bam thank you ma'am kind of a visit that just leaves the cat scared to death. And so as we do these things, and we've always been pretty cat friendly, we just now have the cat designation from the national organization, the American Association of Feline Practitioners. It's really been for us just a great enlightenment to know that we were doing so many of the things right that their board considered extremely important. And right now we're the only practice that has the cat-friendly practice designation, and that's partly because we have a separate cat hospital within the hospital. We have separate exam rooms, separate entrance, so the cats and the dogs don't have to commingle as much, and we avoid that stress as much as we can. A cat-only practice sounds desirable, but in reality, when you're only dealing with the one species, the animal, the opportunity to spread viral disease has really increased because there's nothing else to kind of break it down, and you don't have anywhere to easily isolate away. And so at times we actually move a cat with a highly contagious disease into the dog side, into the quietest part of the dog hospital, so that we can protect the other cats that are there, and that really helps us. That helps us control disease. Our cat hospital has a separate filter with HEPA filter and UV light in it. So cat-friendly designation is really a terrific addition to SylvaniaVET. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to www.catvets.com. That's CATVETS.com, and that's the American Association of Feline Practitioners website. The case that we were going to talk about is a mixed lab who is about 4 years old, and last year was just intensely itchy to the point where it was almost impossible to keep him comfortable. And it was about a 4 to 5 month period of time when he was tearing his hair out on my Bo Derek scale of a perfect 10, being a dog that's tearing his hair out, breaking the skin, causing open wounds. Boy, this guy was a 10. He was Bo Derek. And and so what we did is that at the end of his allergy season, after we'd been able to get him off his medications and his itch had settled down to a tolerable level without medications, we then allergy tested this dog. And in allergy testing, what we're doing is intradermal skin testing. We're not doing blood tests. Blood tests by the dermatologists are generally considered a last resort. They're generally considered not highly effective, and so they're not the gold standard of allergy testing in dogs or cats. And so we actually intradermal skin test. We don't know that anybody else in the area does intradermal skin testing. If that's felt to be indicated, you're being referred out of the area to a dermatology specialist. We can provide that care and as effectively. And when we had our allergens tested, we actually test for 40 different allergens, and we worked with a dermatologist at Michigan State. We worked with a human allergist here in the area, and we worked with the company to design a set of allergens that was very specific to Northwest Ohio. So it's worked really well. This dog is now on its maintenance schedule of his hyposensitization shots. That starts off with a very dilute solution by giving shots, and we did that all the way through the winter. And it's now receiving a small dose, about 0.2 of a cc every week, and the dog's itch is controlled without any medication. The owner is extremely happy, and obviously we are as well, because we've managed to accomplish this without having to use any cortisone. And that's always desirable. Cortisone, if given to a dog for an extended period of time, can have some side effects. But the guidelines that we use, 1/4 milligram per pound every other day for prednisone, and nothing stronger than prednisone, is pretty safe, and in the majority of animals does not cause side effects, and it's a safe product to use. But it must be used carefully. But it should always be used orally, not by injection. So it's time to break. I can't believe how the time is flying, and we'll be back. Yeah, I would encourage you to please go ahead and send those questions to request, so that I can, like Marlene did, so that I'm in a position to be able to answer those on air. It's a lot easier than having to make up these subjects every week to talk about. So please help us out and send those questions. And you can also send them to me at Dr. Bob, DRBOB, at SylvaniaVET.com. Which leads me into our website. Again, there's so many things on the website that it's phenomenal what you would learn, and we'd love to have you stay on there for an hour looking around. And in reality, you could probably find enough stuff that would interest you that you could. But one of the things, again, I'll really encourage you to do is, if you've had a diagnosis or if you have questions about a condition that has been mentioned to you or is in a differential of a diagnosis, go to our website, and there is a great veterinary library on there. It is far superior to anything that you will learn on the internet, and it's the place to go. There's a place to register on the website so you can receive our monthly FYI for Pet's Sake electronic newsletter. I just finished writing August today, so it's set and it's going to get posted Wednesday, Thursday of next week. It's hard to believe that July is almost over. SylvaniaVET is a 24/7 pet care destination. That means that we have a doctor on call, but more importantly, we have a person, a technician and an assistant in the building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. That technician answers the phone. Does your vet's phone get answered by a live person after they've closed? I can guarantee you pretty much they don't. If it's an answering service, I've had experience with them. That's one of the reasons why we answer our own phones. The answering services are not good. So it's just one of the many reasons. I want to remind you that if our Trifexis prices across the board are better than almost every other practice in the area. We've seen some where our price is $14 for a 5 to 10 pound pill, and other practices where their price is $22 for that exact same pill. If you'd like to buy Trifexis from us but aren't a client, you can come in and we will establish a quick relationship. And so with a quick complimentary visit, a 10-minute visit with a doctor to establish a patient-client doctor relationship, and then we'd be happy to and able to sell you Trifexis. Without that exam, without that relationship, we cannot sell you that, nor can we sell you HeartGuard, nor can we sell you Revolution. So I would encourage you to do that. So again, just a final reminder, SylvaniaVET, we're located 4801 North Holland, Sylvania at Haroon, 419-885-4421. Website, www.sylvaniavet.com. And I'd like to thank Galanco for being my sponsor. Their support is greatly appreciated. And with that said, there's only one best pet, and it lives in your home. Thank you.
You have been listening to PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin on WSYLradio.com. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortis. Tune in every Saturday at 10 a.m. as Dr. Bob explains the latest in veterinary care and answers your questions. You can email your pet questions to requests@wsylradio.com, and Dr. Bob will answer them on a future show.